The key lies in cultivating relationships only with those who uplift you, whose presence summons your best self. Identifying false relationships can be challenging, just as distinguishing a mirage from an oasis in the vast desert of human interactions. In a world filled with encounters and missed connections, where masks of courtesy and self-interest are skillfully worn, discovering who truly cares for you is an art that requires not only intuition but also a keen eye. At times, we end up placing too much trust in the kindness and goodwill of others, when in reality, we are being used, like an experienced gardener who knows how to discern between plants that nurture and those that drain nutrients from the soil. We need to learn to identify true allies in our lives while recognizing emotional parasites. So in today's video, we will discuss subtle signs and less obvious patterns that reveal hidden intentions behind forced smiles and empty promises. If you're here, it's because you're interested in personal development, and in this content, we'll talk about the wisdom of deciphering these human puzzles, illuminating the path to more authentic and fulfilling relationships. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you to make sure you watch this video until the end, as all the content is important. Be strong and stay focused. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Number 1. Failure to fulfill promises. This act of making and breaking promises can be compared to a theatrical performance where words are the actors and actions are the neglected script. These individuals have mastered the art of verbal persuasion, painting vivid pictures of commitment and support. However, their words often lack the substance of action. They create expectations with the flourish of a painter, but when it comes time to turn these painted dreams into reality, they falter, revealing the emptiness of their assurances. In such relationships, a pattern emerges when your support is most needed, when your promise is expected to be fulfilled. These individuals often disappear, leaving a void filled with disappointment and disillusionment. This absence in times of need is not just a betrayal of trust. It is a clear indicator of their true motivations. Their promises are manipulation tools, designed to extract value, trust, or support without the intention of reciprocity. Failure to fulfill promises, therefore, becomes a kind of litmus test. It distinguishes between those who value relationships as a two-way street of mutual respect and support, and those who see relationships merely as means for personal gain. For those left hanging, the experience often brings a painful but valuable lesson. Not all promises are built on the foundation of honesty and integrity. Therefore, failure to fulfill promises is a critical behavior to be observed to understand and identify individuals who may seek to use others. It is a behavior that speaks louder than the most eloquent words, revealing the true character and intention of a person. Recognizing this pattern, it is possible to navigate the complex terrain of human relationships with a more discerning eye, protecting your trust and emotional investment. Number 2. Diminutive or dismissive comments. Individuals who habitually use others as stepping stones for their personal gain are skilled at employing diminutive remarks as a tool of erosion, corroding self-esteem, confidence, and a sense of self-worth in their targets. These comments, sometimes disguised as humor or casual conversation, are in reality sharp hooks designed to bring down rather than uplift. They may belittle your successes, mock your aspirations, or appear indifferent and unresponsive to your struggles and challenges. This behavior resembles subtle psychological warfare. By systematically devaluing your achievements and aspirations, these individuals create an imbalance in the relationship. It's a calculated move to ensure that you remain in a position of self-doubt and diminished self-esteem, making you more susceptible to manipulation and control. In their eyes, your diminished self-worth elevates their status, solidifying their dominant position in the relationship. Furthermore, such dismissive comments often reflect their own insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. By belittling others, they try to mask their own vulnerabilities and project a facade of superiority. This behavior is a telling sign of their inability to engage in healthy, supportive, and reciprocal relationships. Recognizing and understanding this pattern of behavior is crucial. It allows you to see beyond the veil of superficial charm that such individuals often use and understand the underlying toxic dynamics of the relationship. It serves as a warning to address the individual's behavior directly, set clear boundaries, or distance yourself from such a toxic environment. Number 3, unilateral benefit. It is a complex dynamic that permeates relationships, presenting intriguing nuances in financial, emotional, and practical spheres. In the financial realm, one observes not only the recurrence of unfulfilled promises in loans, but also the subtle manipulation of monetary transactions to favor one side. This may include the exploitation of shared resources, resulting in economic imbalances that resonate beyond the monetary aspect, affecting the overall stability of the union. In the emotional scenario, unilateral benefit is not limited to just unequal dependence, but also manifests in the subtleties of emotional support. Patterns of emotional manipulation can be observed, where one partner constantly seeks validation while skillfully avoiding offering the same level of support. This emotional asymmetry creates cycles of vulnerability and psychological imbalance, undermining the emotional integrity of the relationship. In the practical sphere, unilateral dynamics unfold into intricate webs of unmet expectations and unfulfilled commitments. Beyond favors and assistance, the lack of practical reciprocity can manifest in the unequal management of daily responsibilities. One partner may often find themselves overwhelmed with tasks while the other remains passive, generating resentment and straining daily coexistence. In summary, unilateral benefit transcends simple inequality. It is a complex web of behaviors and choices that, when not recognized and addressed, can erode the foundation of trust and collaboration in a relationship. Deepening the understanding of these aspects allows not only the identification of harmful patterns, but also promotes a proactive approach in building more balanced and sustainable relationships. This unilateral nature is akin to a parasitic relationship in nature, where one organism benefits at the expense of the other. Like a parasite, the user extracts nourishment, in this case emotional, financial, or practical support, without contributing equally or appropriately to the well-being of their host. Over time, this lack of reciprocity can deplete the giver's resources, be they emotional, financial, or temporal, leaving them drained and dissatisfied. The motives behind unilateral benefit are often rooted in deep selfishness and a lack of empathy. The user views relationships through a transactional lens, evaluating interactions based on what they stand to gain rather than what they can contribute. This approach to relationships is fundamentally flawed, as it neglects the inherent value of mutual respect, support, and reciprocity. If you're enjoying our content, comment today's date followed by the phrase, "seeking knowledge to show you're fully committed." We continue. Number 4. Emotional manipulation usually starts insidiously. The manipulator presents themselves as caring and concerned. However, this facade quickly turns into a mechanism to induce feelings of anxiety, inadequacy, or guilt in their target. They become adept at pushing emotional buttons, praising to lift you when it suits their purposes, and then criticizing or undermining sharply to create doubt and dependence. Consider the analogy of a gardener and a delicate plant. A careful gardener nurtures, providing the right amount of water and sunlight. In contrast, the emotional manipulator, like a neglectful gardener, alternates between overwatering and letting the plant wilt in drought. They use emotional extremes to destabilize, creating an environment where the target becomes emotionally dependent, constantly seeking the approval and validation of the manipulator to regain that initial warmth. This manipulation often targets the core of emotional well-being. They may belittle your achievements or magnify your failures to keep you in a perpetual state of self-doubt. They can distort situations to make you feel guilty for normal actions, shifting the blame to ensure you're always apologizing. In relationships where emotional manipulation is at play, the balance of power is always distorted. The manipulator holds the reins, deciding when to offer affection and when to withdraw it, keeping their target off balance. This dynamic is not about mutual growth or support. It's about satisfying the manipulator's needs at the expense of the other's emotional health. Identifying emotional manipulation requires a sharp awareness of these dynamics. It involves recognizing interaction patterns where someone's feelings are consistently manipulated. It requires introspection to understand how these interactions affect someone's self-esteem and emotional well-being. Number 5, the absence of genuine support. The absence of genuine support is like a tree in a vast forest. Ideally, it is sustained by the trees and vegetation around, receiving nutrients, shelter, and the company of a thriving ecosystem. Now imagine an isolated tree in a barren landscape without other flora to offer support or protection. This resembles being in a relationship with someone who has no genuine interest in your well-being. You are left alone, unsupported, your branches seeking camaraderie that never arrives. In these relationships, your goals, projects, and challenges are met with apathy or symbolic gestures of support. This person may not oppose your plans, wish you luck in a detached manner, or even verbalize support, but their actions or lack thereof speak louder. When it comes to tangible assistance, meaningful advice, or even a listening ear during tough times, their presence is seemingly absent. Their help, if offered, tends to be superficial, more a matter of form than substance, and often evaporates when most needed. The reason behind this lack of genuine support is rooted in their self-interest. Your successes or failures, your challenges or interests, matter only insofar as they affect them or their goals. They view relationships through a transactional lens, where emotional investment is calculated based on potential personal returns. This attitude creates an imbalance where one party continues to give, be it effort, care, or resources, while the other receives, often leaving the giver feeling undervalued and unseen. Recognizing this lack of genuine support is crucial to understanding the nature of your relationship with such a person. It calls for an honest assessment of reciprocity in your interactions. Identifying and addressing this lack of support is essential to ensure you invest your time and energy in relationships that are nurturing, reciprocal, and genuinely supportive. Number 6, constant competition. Constant competition is depicted as a chess game where every move is calculated not only to advance one's position, but also to systematically undermine the opponent. Similarly, someone who merely wants to use you often treats your relationship as a strategic game. Each of your achievements, decisions, or even challenges becomes an opportunity for them to assert superiority. Whether overshadowing your professional successes, surpassing your personal accomplishments, or subtly undermining your decisions, their actions are motivated by the need to stay ahead in this self-imposed competition. This constant competition manifests in various ways. In a professional setting, they may try to stand out in meetings or take credit for your ideas. In personal relationships, they may belittle your experiences or achievements, often contrasting theirs to appear more significant. Even in casual conversations, there's a palpable underlying thread of them trying to prove themselves better, smarter, or more successful. The root of this behavior lies in deep-seated insecurity and a distorted perception of self-worth, where their value is measured not by merit, but by being superior to others. This perspective turns every interaction into a zero-sum game, where for them to win, someone else, in this case you, must lose. It's a mindset where mutual growth is overshadowed by the desire to outdo and overpower. Dealing with someone who exhibits constant competition can be emotionally exhausting. It creates an environment of perpetual tension, where genuine collaboration or support is replaced by rivalry. Your successes aren't celebrated, but seen as challenges to their dominance, and your struggles aren't met with empathy, but viewed as opportunities for them to gain an advantage. Identifying and understanding this pattern is crucial. It helps establish boundaries and, if possible, recalibrate the relationship for a healthier and more collaborative dynamic. It involves recognizing that the foundation of any constructive relationship is mutual respect and support, not an unrelenting race for superiority. Number 7, lack of reciprocity. In a sort of emotional seesaw, where one side carries the weight of the world and the other floats in the breeze of indifference, we encounter the lack of reciprocity. It's like playing chess, but only one side moves its pieces, while the other watches without getting involved. Imagine yourself building a bridge, each brick representing effort, sacrifice, commitment. On your side, the structure is solid, supported by dedication. On the opposite side, the other end hangs dangerously, fragile and unstable. The lack of equivalent contribution creates an uncomfortable imbalance. In these bonds, you are the architect, the tireless builder, shaping the relationship with patience and care. However, the other party seems more like a distant observer than an active collaborator. Responses are like echoes in a cave, reverberating without real impact. This effort imbalance manifests in various intriguing ways. You're always taking the first step in communication, outlining plans for encounters, while the responses from the other side are like a gentle breeze, perhaps too lukewarm to provide warmth. Your unconditional support is offered as a gift but is rarely received in the same manner. Even when sharing your soul, your personal experiences, you find yourself navigating emotional territories, while the other remains in a comfort zone, reserved and seemingly disinterested. It's as if you're offering a feast of vulnerabilities, but the other person is on an emotional diet. The core of this dilemma lies in an egocentric approach to relationships. For the disinterested partner, the relationship is a transaction, a source to be exploited at their convenience, without considering the true exchange of emotions and efforts. It's a calculated involvement, a connection that only triggers when it benefits the other, ignoring the needs and feelings of others. It contradicts the essence of healthy relationships, which thrive on reciprocity, sharing experiences, and emotional balance. Recognizing this lack of reciprocity requires a keen look at the relationship dynamics. It involves asking tough questions about the fair or unfair distribution of efforts, evaluating if the connection is a mutual enrichment or a source of emotional drainage. Ultimately, it's a quest for balance and authenticity in the delicate give-and-take dance that is the essence of relationships. Number 8, making you feel guilty. In a kind of emotional theater, imagine guilt as the strings of a master puppeteer skillfully pulling the reins of our conscience. We are the benevolent actors, but someone uses us as puppets, guiding us down a path that honestly we might not choose of our own free will. This person, this cunning mind, knows the art of handling these strings masterfully, exploiting our weaknesses, be it our sense of responsibility, empathy, or justice. They formulate their requests in a way that refusing them makes us appear insensitive or selfish. It's a kind of psychological juggling that leaves us swinging on the ropes of guilt. Alternatively, this skillful manipulation may come disguised as reminders, a list of past favors or incidents suggesting an unspoken debt, an obligation that we are now compelled to pay. The tactic is subtle. insidious, starting with small gestures that gradually turn into more significant demands over time. Our boundaries unknowingly begin to unravel, and the ability to say no becomes compromised, leaving us trapped in this cycle of guilt and compliance. At the center of this manipulation is the exploitation of a fundamental aspect of human nature: the innate desire to be seen as good, helpful, and caring. By making us feel guilty, the manipulator distorts these virtues, turning them into tools for control. We find ourselves doing things not out of genuine desire or mutual respect, but out of an imposed sense of obligation, often carrying a burden of resentment and exhaustion. Identifying when someone is pulling these invisible strings is crucial to maintaining the integrity of our personal boundaries and emotional balance. This requires a sharp awareness of the emotional currents that arise in our interactions, distinguishing between genuine requests for help and attempts to exploit our goodwill. It also requires courage to question the motivations behind these requests, asserting our right to say no without carrying the weight of guilt. Recognizing and confronting this manipulative tactic is essential for cultivating healthier relationships built on mutual respect, genuine care, and free choices, rather than being shaped by obligation and the shadow of guilt. It's time to cut the invisible strings and regain control of our own emotional stage. Number 9, persistent lack of respect. Lack of respect goes beyond an occasional lapse in judgment or a slip of the tongue in the heat of the moment. It's a continuous thread woven into the fabric of the relationship. It manifests in various forms: depreciating comments, careless attitudes, or even blatant disregard for your feelings and boundaries. This behavior can be subtle, like a series of small cuts, or overt, like a glaring wound to dignity. Imagine a garden where respect is the nutrient that helps relationships flourish. In its absence, what remains is a barren landscape where nothing healthy can grow. In this scenario, every attempt at conversation or connection becomes a path strewn with thorns of contempt and disregard. The person exhibiting this persistent lack of respect uses it as a tool, consciously or unconsciously, to assert dominance or control in the relationship. It's a way of belittling the other, maintaining a dominant position in a dynamic where equality and mutual consideration should prevail. This consistent disrespect undermines the foundation of the relationship deeply. When disagreements occur, instead of resolving them with understanding and empathy, they become battlefields without consideration for emotional wounds. The normal flow of relationship dynamics is disrupted, making it difficult, if not impossible, to return to a state of normalcy and mutual respect. Understanding and recognizing this persistent pattern of disrespect is vital. It involves looking beyond isolated incidents to see the broader pattern of behavior. It's realizing that respect is not just in grand gestures, it's present in daily interactions, in small acknowledgements, and in how disagreements are handled. In conclusion, a persistent lack of respect in a relationship is a significant indicator of someone who sees you not as an equal partner, but as a means to an end. This lack of consideration for your feelings and dignity reveals a fundamentally imbalanced and unhealthy relationship. Identifying this characteristic is crucial for those who value their self-esteem and seek relationships built on a foundation of mutual respect and equality. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as you've made it to the end, share your thoughts with us or write seeking knowledge in the comments. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.